Aaron's hands gripped my waist, pulling me closer as we stumbled into the soft glow of my apartment. The city lights sparkled through the massive windows, but all I could focus on was the way his touch sent sparks down my spine. His shirt was already discarded, and I ran my fingers over the hard lines of his chest, my pulse racing as he backed me against the cool wall of glass. The world outside felt impossibly far away as we moved together, our breaths mingling in the dim light. His mouth trailed down my neck, his hands tracing a path that left no part of me untouched. I lost myself in him, in the heat and intensity that seemed to fill the room. In that moment, Aaron was all I wanted, all I needed. He whispered my name like a prayer, his voice rough and filled with desire, and I gave in completely, forgetting everything but him. Aaron's hands traveled the length of my body, his touch gentle, yet filled with a hunger that made my breath hitch. He whispered my name, his voice low and reverent, as though the moment demanded silence save for the symphony of our heart and the rustling leaves around us. I let my fingers trace the contours of his jaw, his shoulders, his chest, as if committing him to memory. His skin was warm beneath my palms, and each movement, each caress, spoke of a connection I couldn't explain, but could no longer deny. As our bodies intertwined, the world seemed to fall away, leaving only the intoxicating sensation of his closeness and the rhythm we created together. His lips moved from my mouth to my neck, trailing heat wherever they landed, and I gasped as he pulled me closer, pressing us together as though we could become one. I had never felt this way before, unguarded, exposed, and alive in a way I hadn't known was possible. The moonlight bathed us in a soft glow, illuminating the raw honesty of the moment. When we finally collapsed onto the blanket, our breaths mingling and uneven, he wrapped his arms around me as if he could shield me from the outside world. I rested my head on his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart, my fingers idly tracing circles on his skin. The weight of reality loomed just beyond the clearing, but here, in his embrace, I allowed myself to exist in the fragile, fleeting perfection of now. But even as I lay there, a tiny voice in the back of my mind whispered that this wasn't just about us. The building, the secrets it held, and the past I was unraveling, everything was connected. And Aaron was at the center of it all. My name is Leah Carter, and 3 months ago, I moved into a sleek, modern apartment building in Manhattan, looking for a fresh start after my divorce. The building was beautiful, with floor-to-ceiling windows, state-of-the-art security, and a community of attractive, successful residents. It was perfect, or so I thought. The first few weeks were a blur of unpacking and settling into my new life. I met Aaron, the charming and enigmatic owner of the building, during an elevator ride, and we clicked immediately. He was handsome, confident, and magnetic in a way I couldn't resist. But there was something else about him, something I couldn't quite put my finger on. The building had a history, whispered among the residents, unexplained depths, unsolved mysteries. Everyone seemed to know something, but no one would say it outright. As my relationship with Aaron deepened, I began to notice things. Hidden cameras disguised as smoke detectors, whispers in the hallways, and an unsettling feeling that I was always being watched. Aaron became a regular visitor, and each time he came, we made love. But the first time I visited his apartment, it was different. Slower, more intense, as though we were trying to communicate something beyond words. We were in his apartment this time, the one on the top floor with the view that seemed to stretch forever. His room was dimly lit, the shadows playing across his face as he leaned over me, his lips capturing mine in a kiss that made me forget to breathe. He moved with purpose, his hands tracing the curve of my body with a tenderness that belied his usual confidence. I felt his warmth, his strength, and for a moment I let myself believe he could be the man I needed him to be. My fingers explored his back, my lips brushing his neck, as we lost ourselves in each other once again. His hands traveled slowly, deliberately, as though he wanted to memorize every inch of me. The city lights twinkled through the wide windows, casting a faint glow over the room and illuminating the way his eyes burned with desire. He kissed me deeply, his lips moving against mine with a passion that felt both urgent and restrained, as if he were holding back the storm inside him. My body arced instinctively under his touch, each caress sending waves of heat through me, igniting something I hadn't allowed myself to feel in years. Aaron's movement grew more assured as his hands slid down my sides, his fingertips brushing the edges of my hips. He whispered my name, his voice a low murmur that made my breath catch. I could feel the tension in his body, the way he seemed to want to give and take all at once. The rhythm of his touch became slower, more deliberate, each moment stretching into eternity as we moved together. It wasn't just about passion. It was as though he was trying to show me something, to make me see the depth of what we had created in our stolen moments together. As we reached the crescendo, our bodies entwined, the sounds of the city faded away, leaving only the steady rhythm of our breathing. The intensity of the moment lingered, heavy and tangible, as I stared into his eyes, wondering if he felt the same pull I did. The undeniable gravity that seemed to draw us together despite everything. In that fleeting moment, it was just us, suspended in a world where the consequences of our actions didn't exist. But deep down, I knew that world could only last so long. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to him that he was letting on. The way he always seemed to know what I was doing, where I was, even when I hadn't told him. The way the cameras in the building seemed to follow me, as if someone was always watching. And the strange, knowing look in his eyes when I confronted him about it earlier that day. I started digging deeper into the building's history, piecing together the stories of the previous residents who had mysteriously disappeared or died. Every thread led back to Aaron, his charming smile and effortless confidence masking something darker. He wasn't just the owner of the building, he was its puppeteer, controlling every camera, every hallway, every secret. The truth was impossible to ignore, but so was my growing connection to him. I knew I had to make a choice. Confront him, expose him, and risk everything. Or let myself fall deeper into a world of control and seduction where nothing was as it seemed. In the end, I wasn't sure what scared me more. The secrets hidden in the walls of the building, or the man who held the keys to all of them. But one thing was certain. Aaron wasn't just watching, he was waiting, and so was I.